Do you know what happens when Paul doesn't have his documents synced up between his iPad and his Dropbox?
You have some difficulty writing things and changes get a little bit wonky.
So it kept warning me about that, and I kept looking at it going, oh, I should really do something about it. I should really do something about that. So I tried to open it yesterday, and it gave me that warning, and I was like, oh, fuck. That means I got to go back to the computer and do all this shit. All right, fine. So I don't have yesterday's or the day before's text. Fine. Whatever. I have something else I can do. So I went and started outlining and doing some other things and figured out how signal decay works and ends. And I was like, oh, it's kind of a short book. Well, I can fix that just by adding another point of view. Oh, God damn it.
So when you say kind of a short book, how many words does that equal out to?
Oh, probably 60 to 80.
I wouldn't have a complaint about that.
Yeah, it just seems so fast though, because it's going to take, 20, 30,000 words for shit to get weird and wrong. Well, maybe
you obviously need to work harder about making things get wrong faster.
I guess that's one of the criticisms I've seen over and over again is there are people who do not like slow burns, and I love slow burns. I just love writing them. I love reading them. I love watching them, and apparently that is the kind of story I just am born to write. Don't know why. I think the only two fast burn stories I've told are Gares Inferno and Outbreak. I think those are the only two where I just dropped you right into it.
I would say that when I was writing Ruined Terra, there was not fighting that took place right away, but the setbacks began on page 1.
Right.
Pretty much chapter 1, you've got your first major setback.
Yeah. I'm talking about spending, 10,000 words to get to know the major players. Insert shitstorm here. Get another 2,000 to 3,000 words to explain the new players that are coming in. And then those folks you only get to know as the story goes on. But it means that people are dying by, or shit's happening by the 12,000 word mark. 10 to 12,000 word mark.
You could really begin some of these things with a bang right off the bat. I just finished reading the advanced reader's copy of Glenn Stewart's latest book in a new series. So it's a book 1 in a new series. It starts off with just prior to page 1, the humanity committed genocide in a war to end a war.
I remember him talking about that, yeah.
So it kicks off with that before anything else even starts. So you can imagine things get a little bit more complicated from there.
Yeah, I can see writing that. It does. I don't think that works as well in a bottle story, though. Because you lose the factor of the suspense, which is half the fun of monster books. So it just depends on what you're writing. But I can see where you're talking about that. I mean, Marines took a long time to get going because I had so much setup work to do. I just didn't know at the time it was setup work. But I don't know. I like to get to know the characters before I try and mutilate the shit out of them.
Well, I suppose that works. Me, when I start writing a novel, I have very little idea of where they're going. I know where they're starting. I know where I hope the book is going to end up, but it's not going to end up there.
No.
I just start writing and I say, here we go. Here's the natural outgrowth of what has come before. And here are the complications that starts putting some setbacks in place.
Whereas I usually know how the book is going to end. I know what's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know why it's necessarily going to happen, but I have it. Or I know exactly how the book's middle needs to look like.
No one ever knows what the middle is supposed to look like.
I have
You
started.
are obviously a mutant.
I have started writing in the middle of so many goddamn books now. Where I ended up going, I'm in the wrong place. This is the right story. These are the right things, but I kind of need to know what happened before this before I continue on. And so that's when I end up going back and writing about the characters and how we get to that spot. How do we get to the middle? Well, if I know how to get to the middle, then I sure as shit know how to get to the end. At least ephemerally. Mm-hmm. Terry thinks I'm insane.
I do. You're obviously a deranged madman.
Oh, just because I don't do things the way you do them?
That's right.
Or because what I do doesn't make any goddamn sense to you, or both? All the above?
Sorcery!
It is not sorcery. Not at all. Not at all. So now I'm being chastised twice in this episode for making a book too long and not starting out with more action in the first, 20 pages.
I don't think I was chastising you for making it too long. My comment was I wouldn't flinch at writing a book that was between 60 and 80.
Your fucking eyes.
I don't really have room to complain. My latest book came in at 96,000 words.
Oh my God.
You're obviously a bad influence on
I am
me.
a bad influence in so many ways. I was thinking the other day also about this. Seems like we haven't talked in a week or something. How to structure the book so it would be really good for a video game.
Oh, there's planning for using some intellectual property.
Or making making intellectual property that can be used in other places, yes.
Is that sort of like the opposite of the guy that wrote Ernest Cline that wrote is that the right guy that wrote Ready Player One?
Yeah.
Ernest Cline, or is that the other Cline?
It's the other Klein.
I get the two confused by name.
I think it's the other Klein. I don't know. I can't keep track of them.
But in any case, Peter Klein's. It was Peter Klein. No, that's the other Klein's. Peter Klein's. He wrote 14.
Right.
Ernest Cline. I'd have to look it up. But he wrote Ready Player One specifically to make it impossible for them to make a movie out of it.
And
look how well that worked out.
No, I just kept thinking of the action beats that you need to take a character through, the story and have it make sense, and where are the opportunities for them to upgrade their gear or, find new toys to play with. When do you reveal certain things before an action sequence begins? I just kept all that stuff just started kind of spewing out together into kind of a mental script. It was a little disturbing, but kind of cool.
Have you ever thought about writing a novel in which you've got two separate groups of point of view characters going through the same area, doing their own thing, and they don't actually encounter one another, but each team encounters what the other team has done?
What they've left behind in their wake.
What the hell is this? Where did this come from? What does this mean?
No, I've never considered writing that actually, but yeah, it's entirely possible. Especially if it's the villains following the heroes of the story, whatever, and coming across a blast zone and just being like, "What the hell happened here?" Oh, that was Captain So-and-so's platoon. Yeah, was.
Brave souls. We're going to miss them.
All right, loot the bodies.
I've always loved that blaster.
I've always coveted it. See? It's so easy. It's so easy to create these. Now, find the story that belongs in. Just try it. You don't think about action beats, do you?
Not as strictly as I probably should have. Basically, when I start feeling like things are starting to slow down, I'll start adding things in. So it's all subconscious.
Your definition and my definition of slowing things down are kind of different.
I never intentionally try to slow things down.
You've never tried to basically go back and change the pacing a little bit?
Never. I've never went back to a single book or a single story of any kind to do something to change the pacing. Never, not once.
You're a better man than I. You're a better man than I.
I figure my subconscious knows how to tell a story better than I do, so I should just let it do its business.
Okay. All right, fine. Be that way. I think
I'm sure there are plenty of other things that I go back and screw with, but pacing has never been one of them.
If I feel like things are moving way too fast, I will insert something else. I will either flip to another point of view or add something relatively important, or just remind people that character is there to slow down what the other folks are doing. So at least we give the reader a break, because otherwise you get into that 10,000 word action scene between this, that, and the other. Sometimes you just got to slow it down.
Well, I know how I do that because I write every scene from a different point of view. So when I end a scene with a high note going on, I'll find a cliffhangering bastard moment and cliffhanger the bastard readers and then move on to something else.
Yeah, that's what I do too. And by doing that,
I just do it on principle. I don't actually go back to plan to do it. I do it intentionally as I write.
Yeah, so do I. But there are times when I've gone through and went, well, I need another beat here. I need another beat here to slow this down.
You know why? It's because your scenes, unlike mine, my scene might be as little as 1,000 words or as much as 2,500 words, maybe even 3,000 words in an extreme time. But I never have a scene longer than that. You have 10,000 word scenes.
I do.
So you kind of have to go back and break some things up. I never get going long enough in a row to need to go back to change it.
I had that many points of view to deal with. I had basically 5 points of view to deal with on this one thing everybody was doing. And everything impacted every other piece of it. And so it was just kind of like, it didn't make sense to break it out as chapters. It just did not make sense. It would have been like 10 chapters. It just seems a waste. So I didn't do it that way. Go ahead, disagree with me.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So he says. That's also the way I think about the stories, though. If you were to look in my Scrivener folder, you would kind of find that same outlay with the chapters and the scenes that are inside it. Some chapters have got a lot of scenes. So unless there's a compelling reason to create a new chapter out of it, I usually don't.
My chapters have almost always got 2 scenes. Occasionally it's a single scene, and also very occasionally it might have 3 or more. But if it's got more, it's because they're short, punchy scenes.
Right, 200 to 500 words. Mm-hmm. Somewhere in there.
And my scenes don't usually end up being that short. The few times I remember doing that, it's because everybody is in the middle of action, and I wanted to jump from person to person to show different things going on.
Okay. Yeah. That's another problem when you get to the point where you have to add another point of view to convey some information to the reader that the characters don't have. I remember
when I was writing one of the novels, I got halfway into it, and I said, I've got too many points of view. So I had to go back and strike out a couple of point of view characters and change those scenes over to be somebody else.
Right. And then what?
I was happy with it then. Apparently I've got an upper limit for the number of point of view characters that I comfortably can juggle.
I think we all have an upper limit. Unless you're freaking Dostoevsky or Tolstoy, I think there is or Herman Wouk. I think there's a goddamn limit you can keep in your head.
Well, even if you look at people that are not at that level, David Weber juggles a whole ton of characters. Tom Clancy, when he was alive and writing, juggles a whole bunch of characters. And that's not the kind of story I'm telling. It's not so wide in scope. My story is much shorter, much smaller in scope.
Right. I think my limit is 7. I think after that, it gets really bad really fast.
I don't think I'll go above 5. I prefer 4.
Now, when we're talking about POV characters, we're talking about main POV characters, correct? As opposed to the occasional bystander you might throw in there for a scene or two.
I never do that.
You never do that.
If I have a point of view character, they are an integral part sharing the story all the way from the beginning to the end. I see you coming up here yelling at me. Over there. Oh, it's awful. It's terrible.
Get off my mic! Get off my mic!
No, I've never been one to use bit parts as part of my point of view.
I'll use them if there's something where I'll use them where there's something they need to see or convey to the reader where they're probably not going to be around to tell the tale afterwards. Or maybe they're seeing something from a distance, and I want to give that across to the reader so that they know something the character doesn't. I will do it. I don't do it often, but I will do it.
Nothing wrong with it.
They're fun to have because you can kind of give almost an act break, like a play, where you come back from, I don't know, the first half of the, you come back from intermission, and what you find is that we've started with some new scene that's over here that has nothing to do, but everything to do with maybe what you just witnessed in the first half.
I just realized I think we must be talking about action beats and point of view characters. Welcome to what we're talking about, folks.
Yeah, welcome to that. Welcome to this. Welcome to that. This is how it happens. I haven't seen you in a week. Wait, what do you want from me? And I was thinking about this. What should we talk about our next episode?
It's good to see you being proactive.
That's a first. Maybe I've had more than 4 hours of sleep. Anyway.
So, have you ever? Well, I'm asking this as a rhetorical question because I already know the answer.
Never have I ever.
Have you ever picked a point of view character to use simply because you desperately wanted to fuck him over? You wanted to make an example of this point of view character, and you knew what bad things you were going to do, and you still went ahead and did it to make it personal and in the reader's face.
Never have I ever. Never have I ever. Turn to, I think, just open the Black Outbreak and turn to, like, I don't know, page 165 or 200, and you'll know the scene we're talking about. 2 scenes back to back where Paul just systematically wipes out his co-hosts.
Yeah, but there was a grudge there, you know. You totally see why that happened.
Oh yeah, you can totally see. No, I have done that a couple times, and it's always fun. Especially if it's a fiendling name that I've grabbed. I'll put those in there and say, hey, I need somebody to see this. Oh, this is perfect. Because I want it to be like that. So I write this stuff that way, and it's just fun that way. But yeah, I will use the characters like that, and I think they're a good way to use as a signpost that, hey, we've entered the new part of the story. It's fun.
In Ruined Terra, I went ahead and had one Marine, one of the low-level Marines, that was obliterated in combat with a heavy weapon. Blew their powered armor completely apart and scattered parts everywhere in a huge fireball. All they could recover from the Marine that was intact was basically one of the armored boots and a toe. I immediately named him Thomas Reed.
Good man.
Because it kind of had to be that way.
Good man.
When I originally wrote it, I had it be a woman and they found her head. And I was like, if I'm going to find a body part, I've got to do better than this. I can make it a toe. Ha, ha, ha. I'll bury this Easter egg.
Oh, my God.
No one will get it. Well, maybe some people will get it, but
some people are going to groan and go, "Oh, a toe tag," and they have no idea about the Thomas Reed connection.
Yeah, I didn't even stick the word tag or toe tag.
I don't think you have to. I think some people are going to read it, and tag is going to immediately come into their head, and they're just going to go, "Oh, Mixon, really?"
Yeah, I pretty much had to do that because if you don't give yourself the opportunity to please yourself as a writer by sticking these things in there that
you're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong. You've got to be able to do this.
If you go look at some writers, like Stephen King, for instance, these little anecdotes he tells about these people's lives, you wonder how many of them happened to him or he witnessed personally. About what the things that happen to them that they talk about, somebody who's been struck by lightning more than once, or God, I don't know, some incident with a raccoon. You just sit there and you wonder, did they actually see that? That sounds too goddamn weird not to have happened.
I read a story about an ultra marathoner, one of these mondo fit people that was racing this ultra marathon. I think it was in the United Kingdom. And was in the final stretch and was killed by lightning. And while that's a horrible story, you could write that into something and make it kind of weird in your story. Or somebody, fitness, oh, well, I guess all that was a waste.
I have made the perfect body. Zonk. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That sounds like a good scene for a mystery. Right there. A good death. A good weird death. It sounds like something out of Dresden, actually.
That could definitely be a Dresden thing. And as an aside, I am given to understand that he has finally finished his edits on the next Dresden book, and it's off to the publisher.
Oh, cool.
So maybe within the next month, they'll announce a publication date.
I only have
some year in the future.
I only have every book after Ghost to read.
Aw, you poor thing.
What am I, 7 books behind now?
I have no idea.
It's like trying to keep up with your series. Every time I turn around, it's like, oh, you might be interested in. Oh shit, that guy again. God damn it.
Well, wait till 2020. I'm devoting all my novel efforts to Empire books, so I'll make you really behind by the end of next year.
It's almost like he's bragging, folks. It's almost like he's bragging, taunting me. Almost, but not quite.
I shall taunt you again.
What is it? Your father was a hamster and your mother smelled of elderberries. Yeah, that. Monty Python, folks. Check it out. The Holy Grail. Speaking of Holy Grails, we had a topic. You've completely destroyed it.
Yeah, I kind of do that.
When is the 20 books to whatever conference?
It's only about 2.5 weeks away. I guess I really should get to, getting my presentation finalized.
What are you presenting?
The day before it starts, I'm going to present a kind of introduction / overview of how people can know what's coming and get the most out of the event for those that are there early and want to hear me talk about it.
Oh, so you're basically the introduction to the craziness?
The unofficial introduction, because the official opening isn't till the next morning.
Ah, okay. All right. This is the pre-meeting, post-meeting, pre-agenda, post-agenda thing?
I could think that's probably a valid statement. Sure. I made the mistake of telling Craig that I thought he needed to have something, to get people focused, because I saw so many people last year just running around like chickens with their heads cut off, not really sure what they were doing, not really knowing what to expect, and not perhaps getting the best and the most out of the conference that they could.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so here I am.
So you volunteered for this madness.
I did volunteer for this madness because I wouldn't suggest it and then say somebody else has to do it. If I'm gonna complain, I could put my own time and effort in to make it happen.
If you could do X, that'd be great.
Exactly.
Well, at least you stood up and were a man and said, I will take this. I will take this on.
Mm-hmm. I've got that action item.
You've got that action item. Wonderful. Okay, we've descended into discussing action items. You have brought us all the way into corporate hellspeak.
That could be, a novel you could write.
Corporate hellspeak.
Corporate speak could actually be hellspeak. Management could be demons. You could write this novel.
I think they already did that in Angel, didn't they?
They may have. I'm not fully up to date on all of the episodes in Angel.
Oh, I think it's the last season where they're working for the evil law firm.
I do remember the evil law firm. I just don't remember the details of it very well after all this time.
So also, another good one's Reaper. The DMV were all demons. The entire DMV is made of demons. It's absolutely hilarious. So
You're the wrong line. Next.
That's pretty much, they go out of their way to make everybody's lives horrible. Yeah, they're all demons. They're all hiding their horns and shit. It's pretty damn funny.
You know what I think would be fun with a scene like that? You go ahead and stick an angel that's been somehow misassigned into the DMV, and at first they're like, "Oh, this is terrible," and after like the episode, they're like, "I like this."
After 5 days, after 5 days dealing with the unwashed public, the angel becomes a demon.
Exactly. I kind of like it.
What do you do when you get that kind of customer? Okay. Then angels trying to make their hell face. It's just not working out. Yeah. There's a story there. Somebody write that. Somebody write that. It's not quite the same thing as what they did with Good Omens. Yeah.
But there's a little bit of crossover between good and bad, between the angel and the demon in there.
Oh, the demon's much more likable. Demon is much more likable.
Did you ever watch the show?
Yes.
As opposed to read the book?
Yes.
I don't know anything about how the book went out, but they picked the right guy for playing the demon because, Doctor Who just killed it.
They picked the right pair.
Yes.
Those guys played off one another so well. So well.
I hear they're going to have another season of it. Since there's no book, I only can guess what they'll do next.
Yeah, since both the guys are dead, that's kind of a problem. Well, not both the guys, never mind.
No,
one of them's
dead.
Gaiman's around.
The other guy's dead?
Pratchett? Yeah.
Not Pratchett. The actors. I was
the actors.
The actors.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant the writers.
No. I was speaking of the actors. I was like, wait, I haven't heard this. What do you mean one of them's dead?
Okay. All right. Now we see how context switching can really cause problems for everybody.
The guy you're talking about, I think, is the one that did. Was it the one that did the Discworld series?
That's Pratchett.
Who was the other one?
Gaiman.
Pratchett's dead. That's right.
Pratchett's dead. May the void rest his soul.
When I finished watching Good Omens, my wife watched the first episode of Discworld and totally was not interested. It was just a little too weird.
A little too weird? A little too wacky?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little too wacky.
It is wacky. It is beyond wacky. It is Douglas Adams on an acid trip and mixing medieval and technology. That's pretty much what it is. So yeah, it's an acquired taste. I read 3 Discworld books and was kind of like done. So I understand. Plus, my wife says they didn't exactly pick the right movie to start with, or right book to start with for the what was it, The Hog's Father or something or other?
Yeah, that's the one.
She said that was definitely not the right book to start with as a movie, in her estimation. So, I don't know. I do not know, senor.
So if somebody was going to pick one of your properties to make a movie out of, which one would be the right one?
Definitely The Black. Although
They would have a little difficulty following it up, though, because then you've got Periquels going on.
Yeah, that
You obviously weren't thinking movie rights when you wrote this.
well, I wasn't thinking movie rights when I wrote the Periquels, I can tell you that much. When I caused those little plot holes to plot lines to dangle and went, oh, I can write another book. Oh shit, it takes place at the same time as the previous one. Oh well. Yeah, it was a good idea, Paul. It would be better as a series because of the way things work, obviously. Although maybe you could, I don't know. You could just ignore the 2 middle books. Jump straight to the 3rd. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could do it. But I think Derelict would make a better series, potentially. But I think Gears Inferno Knee Flames is probably the most accessible to turn into a standalone flick. If that makes any sense. So, yeah.
The only problem with that is, I think, 12 people have read it?
Yeah, seems like it, yeah. All 12 people. And yet it's popular among my hardcore. I don't get it. Anyway, the probably my fault for not
discoverability. That's the problem. Obviously, if your hardcore fans love it and no one else has seen it, you've got a discoverability problem.
Yeah, I have a discoverability problem regardless. But I saw that Netflix had set aside $1.5 billion for new property development. $1.5 billion. Chuck Wendig was like, hey, over here.
After, gosh, I shouldn't say this. Anytime you can sit there and say, I shouldn't say this, you really shouldn't go on and saying this. After he got fired from writing Star Wars novels, I'm not sure he's the right guy to pick for your face of your new series if you want to do it on Netflix.
I have no idea. It doesn't matter. His point was, we've got stuff over here. I still would love to somehow organize and get like 10,000 people. I don't know how the hell I would do this. And all tweet Netflix at the same time. Make the Black into a movie.
Chinese bots.
Yeah, Chinese bots. There we go. Make the Black into a movie, and then YouTube link or whatever else to put in there, and just basically slam them with it.
You need to make The Black an indie movie.
I don't even have Kevin Smith money when he made Clerks, okay? He at least had a couple of credit cards with a credit limit. No, it's not happening.
With the low budget, I can only imagine what The Black would look like.
CGI'd from hell. If you had a decent budget, you could do it right.
There's this one little company, I guess, that does these little science fiction shorts on YouTube. And I watched one of them. It was like a 15, 20-minute little science fiction show about first contact. Mm-hmm. The first person going on a hyperspace mission. The CGI was amazing.
Yeah, they can do some really cool stuff now. The Black is actually a great creature to have because we never really know what it looks like because it just takes on different different shapes.
If you went ahead and made this little movie,
amorphous.
then we could have somebody else go take your movie and put cats in place of the monster.
No. No. No, 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 no. This goes back into the Terry bad idea category. All right. And by the way, that fucker's getting full. I mean, that particular filing cabinet is getting full. I'm going to have to throw the whole goddamn thing out now. That was one
That's
too
okay.
many.
You know, you're going to throw that away and you're going to find out you violated some kind of, landfill law with all that toxic waste.
Ew, get those toxic ideas away from me.
Your house is going to be one of those Superfund sites.
Yeah, and here's where all of Terry's plot ideas went.
Basically, when I'm going to plot ideas, this is awful. I'll give it to Paul. I'll keep this other one for me.
I'll put that in his brain. I'll keep the good one. I'll put the bad one out there in Paul's brain, see if it shows up later. Spoiler ahead, it does half the goddamn time. I just admitted that publicly. Shit.
I am the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, is that where?
Apparently so.
That's what she said.
Okay, if you say so.
More shit Paul should not say. Yeah, that. To go along with the shit you shouldn't have said earlier. So there.
Yeah, that's true. As for me, obviously, I write space opera, so either one of my series could start at the beginning and go on.
And go on.
As a decent movie, because I'm a very episodic kind of guy. I think that may be one of the real differences between you and me as writers is I'm a TV series episode guy. Each book is pretty much a self-contained episode along the way of the story, whereas yours are not so easily defined.
No, because I'm an idiot. Because I like to write things that I shouldn't be writing half the time.
You listen to Sue. She would tell you.
Derelict is a hard one to match because it's just epic. It's epic. It's epic. It's epic. It's huge. I'm sure a talented editor, really, really, really talented editor could go in there and cut 60 grand off of it and be okay. But yeah, it would make like 2 seasons, maybe 3. That's how long it would take for them to get everything done.
Unfortunately, you'd be like Stargate Universe, and you get halfway through it, and they'd cancel you.
Well, not my problem. I already got paid. Not my fucking problem. The checks will keep on coming for the first season. I'll be all right. Yeah. If
you ever get selected to have one of your works made into a novel, you should make sure and show up at the premiere with a T-shirt that says, "I just wrote it."
The novel. Wrote the novel.
There you go. I just wrote the novel.
Never mind the consulting I did on set. Yeah, never mind that.
Remember, get your percentage up front.
Yeah, no shit. If I were going to do Tony Downs, that's episodic. That is like what you do with Empire of Bones. That would be very episodic. If I were to do G, that is very episodic.
It's like the Dresden Files are very episodic.
Yeah.
They may have themes that carry on from book to book.
Correct.
But each book has a definite start and a definite end of what's going on.
And then they're re-entrant. So a character you see who's marked as important may not show up again for a couple of books. Or maybe we just get whispers or a sign that those folks, whoever that is still out there. And that kind of sets the reader's appetite that, yeah, this is coming. This is something to look out for, if not in this book, then maybe the next. So stuff like that. You can do that with really episodic stuff. So
I know that the next Dresden novel is going to be, if I remember right, it's called Peace Talks. They've been at war with the Vampire Nation for a while. And I'm sitting back going, what could possibly go wrong?
Everybody gets assassinated.
Something is going to go horribly wrong at these peace talks.
Are the Fae involved in this?
Somewhere.
Oh, God. The Fae show up and fuck over everybody.
A spoiler alert for you. And it may have already happened by the time you read it, but he's associated with one of the Fae courts. Mm-hmm. He's the Winter Knight.
Yeah. He is the Winter Knight.
You can just guarantee that they are going to be involved in that somehow.
Yeah, I look forward to Maeve showing up and, throwing everything to a tizzy again. That'll be so much fun. Or is she still on ice? I can't remember.
She's not on ice.
Okay. It's been so goddamn long since I read the books.
There was an interesting aside in that I keep wondering if it's going to come back and be an interesting part of the novel series. She took Dresden into the lands under the sway of the Dark Fae. And they're apparently fighting a war against somebody. Most of the Dark Fae forces are along a line of preoccupied with battle with something else, inside quotes, keeping them from invading everything else. And so he went to the battle lines and saw that, but it's never been mentioned since.
Yeah, that's definitely coming back.
Something's there is going to happen sooner or later.
Something really bad, something big and
something
epic.
Real bad.
I like it. And that is what we call suspense. Here endeth the lesson. As one should say. POV characters.
How do you pick which ones do you think are going to be the best POV one? For me, it's important because I'm going to keep those POV characters throughout the entire novel. For you, it's whoever's important in the moment.
No, not exactly.
Really? I lean forward interested.
Not exactly. I'll mix and match. There are some minor characters that I need to have get in their heads because there's things that only they would know, and I need them to get known by the rest of the crew. Or not known by the rest of the crew, but I need them to know and for us to know that they know so that when they do certain things, it's not a surprise. In that case, I have to kind of jump into points of view every once in a while that aren't main characters.
I pick points of view characters where either the scene that's happening is going to have the largest impact on them. They're the ones that are going to have to be the ones that stretch and grow to make something happen. Or I'm explaining more about their character. I'm making them deeper, less cardboardy.
Right.
Those are what I use to pick for character point of view.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I go with it too. It's just there are times when, because of the way I tell stories, I need to get into that engineer's head who's only in 5% of the book. I need to get into the pilot's head who's only in there 3% of the book. I need to get in the head of damn lanternfish. That's what I'll do. I'll do if
AUV number 5.
AUV 5. I'll do all that just to get information to the reader that the characters do not have, or to explain what something means before other characters get to it. And do that by describing the one character who's encountering it, what the hell it all means to them. So yeah, I'll have to jump into that, and I'm not afraid of doing that. I used to be. It used to be the rule is exactly what you were saying. You only get scenes from the POV characters. But I figured out that I break the rule. I break it very seldomly, but I do break it, and I break it when it's called for, and then I have a hell of a lot of fun with it. Especially if it's a one single use, like describing a certain scene from Terry Mixon's point of view or Scott Roche's point of view, so I can then give them these horrible deaths.
As long as it's for a good cause.
It was all for a good cause. I could put the little funny moments in there, make a caricature, and have, give you guys a little bit of a tribute. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Besides, it's fun. Nobody know if none of my readers know about the Dead Robot Society, they won't know anything about Terry Mixon or Justin McCumber or Scott Roche. They will know nothing. So it will just be funny little scenes to them. But for those of us who are in the know, it just warms the cockles of our hearts. Of course, that's the other side, but you know.
Thanks for getting that right.
Of course, I think my view's inverted, so I don't know what I just did. What else about POVs?
I think when you're considering what POV character to have, you've got to make sure that they have an impact. You can't just pick some random person for some random purpose. It's got to mean something.
When you're talking about a main character point of view?
Any point of view. If you're going to pick Joe Bob the engineer, something needs to happen to Joe Bob the engineer that is of consequence. You can't just have a random scene by a random guy doing something random.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes, it has to be related to the story in some sense.
I'll go a little bit further than related to a story. Whatever, if you're picking a point of view character, it has to be something of consequence. Whether it's happening then or what they see has to be critical to some later point in the story. Otherwise, you need to trim down the number of point of views you have, because adding more point of views just for the purpose of having more is not helpful.
Oh, come on. Everybody should plan to have 167 characters in their story. And every one of them should get 5,000 to 7,000 words of screen time.
I've got the audio version of The Lord of the Rings done by somebody in the UK that has the same voice actor doing some ridiculous 150 different voices in there.
I think
don't be that guy when you're writing the book. Don't be that guy.
I think Patrick Stewart did a live reading of the Bible. Was it the whole Bible? I don't remember.
I don't know.
Anyway, he was playing dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of characters. And I'm like, no. No, not happening. Not happening.
If I was going to have somebody read the Bible, even though he's dead, it would be Sam Kinison.
Oh, my God. And God said, ow, ow. Yeah, that.
You realize he used to be a minister before he became.
He was a hellfire preacher.
I once heard a little bit of him doing the hellfire preacher thing. It's like, okay, I'll buy that now.
It sounds exactly like his comedy.
With less obscenities.
And different subject matter, but the same cadence, the same sounds, the same everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, man.
That brings something that goes along with point of view characters. It's an ancillary sort of thing. It's character voice. Mm-hmm. Your characters need to sound different from each other. Yeah. If you're going to have somebody be a character, preferably you could have the reader tell who's talking without using tags. I wouldn't go so far as to suggest that, but you should make them individuals that talk in different ways. Different turns of phrase, different cadence, different actions.
Yeah, different slang, even. In The Expanse, they give the Martian pilot a twang. He speaks an affect. What do you call it? An affectation. A Texas drawl is an affectation, which is apparently where Mariner's Point or whatever it is he's from. That's how they sound. So they give him that cue. So based on what he says, darling or whatever else along those lines, you know who it is.
I forget what Dean Smith calls them, but you give characters something that's identifiable to them. It's a way they do. They're always doing something with their hat. They're always smoking a cigar. They're always doing something that is unique to them.
Let's see. Brad Pitt's character in Ocean's 11, he's always eating.
Yes.
Every single scene, he is eating something.
Something like that is something that you can... It's a character tag. That's what it is.
Yeah,
It's a character tag that you have associated with them. Princess Kelsey. She eats every chance she gets. She's always hungry. And I mentioned that a number of times in each book. It's a character tag.
Yeah, so if he's got a scene at dinner or lunch and somebody's scarfing stuff down, you know exactly who it is. Right?
Are you going to eat that? Reaches out, takes somebody else's plate.
God. All right, we should probably bring this to a close. Probably.
It was a good show.
Yeah,
I liked
pretty
it.
much. Pretty much. This was good. If you have any questions, comments, or other remarks you'd like to make about our short conversation about POVs and etc., you can send us an email at show@deadrobotsociety.com. You can tweet me at Paul_E_Cooley. You can join us at the listeners of the Dead Robot Society Facebook group where all the crazy happens. We have to thank our wonderful host, Podhoster, who makes all 14 bazillion episodes of the DRS available for your ear holes. And if you would like to support the show, you can find us at patreon.com/DRS podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you can get access to unexpurgated shows and other madness. And at the $10 level, you get your name read. And our $10 patrons are Andrew Smallwood, JD Barker, Aaron Beezer, Veronica Jaguar, currently recording Pain Before the Storm for Jeff Brackett, Kelson, Isabel, I forgot to change this way too long, Cushy. Rick, I joined the Cliffhanger and Bastards Club. We saw your membership card is in the mail. Lisa Slack, Nathan Cosby, Cheryl Winters, Tracy Bodine, Devin Lee, Drew, Angry Fiesta, Rodan Bernardi. Hook me up and tell me what that's all about. Chris Winder and J.R. Handley. Thank you very much, folks, for supporting the show and this other madness. We appreciate it.
We do, folks. Thank you very much.
And with that, we are going to get out of here so I can get back to coding.
Sounds so exciting.
It does indeed. We'll see you next week, folks. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.